Have you ever opened your inbox, heard a phrase, or stumbled across a word and thought, wait, why do we even call it that? Most of the time, we just accept these terms as if they've always been there, without really questioning where they came from. But behind almost every familiar word or phrase, there's usually a strange, funny, or surprisingly fascinating backstory waiting to be uncovered. That's exactly what we're diving into today as we explore why is spam email called spam? A story full of history, culture, and a few unexpected twists. So stick around, because we're about to unravel it all right here on History of Simple Things. To understand why unwanted emails are called spam, we need to go back not to the early days of the internet, but to a canned meat product. Yes, really. Spam, the food, was introduced by Hormel Foods in 1937. It was cheap, long-lasting, and became especially popular during World War II because it could be shipped overseas and fed to soldiers. Over time, spam became a household name, but spam also earned a bit of a reputation. It was known for being everywhere, often unwanted, and sometimes mocked for its, let's just say, questionable appeal. The cultural presence of spam was strong enough that by the mid-20th century, the word spam meant more than just lunch meat. It started becoming a punchline. Here's where things get really interesting. In 1970, the British comedy group Monty Python released a sketch that would unknowingly change the way we talk about unwanted communication forever. The sketch takes place in a small cafe where every item on the menu contains spam. The waitress rattles off meals like spam, 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 baked beans, spam, spam, spam. As she keeps repeating it, a group of Vikings in the corner begin chanting spam, 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 spam over and over again, drowning out any real conversation. The joke? Spam, the food, is unavoidable. It's repetitive, it's overwhelming, and it's everywhere. Just like those suspicious emails in your inbox decades later. That sketch might have seemed like just another absurd bit of British humor at the time, but it planted a seed. Spam became shorthand for something repetitive, unwanted, and impossible to tune out. Fast forward to the late 1970s and early 1980s. The internet, or at least its early forms, was just beginning. People were using bulletin board systems, Usenet groups, and early forms of online messaging. These communities were tight-knit, nerdy, and full of references to comedy like Monty Python. When someone flooded a chat room or a forum with repeated text or advertisements, users compared it to the Monty Python sketch. Just like the Vikings shouting spam over and over, the screen was being drowned in repetitive nonsense, so the word stuck. The behavior of spamming, a verb, was born. At first, it wasn't strictly tied to email. People would say, "Stop spamming the chat," if someone copy-pasted a block of text again and again. It meant flooding a conversation with so much junk that nobody else could talk. But when did the leap happen from chat spam to email spam? For that, we look to 1978. That year, a man named Gary Thork, a marketer for Digital Equipment Corporation, sent a single email to about 400 people on ARPANET, which was basically the early prototype of the internet. His message promoted a new line of computer equipment. People were furious. Not only had he invaded their inboxes with unsolicited advertising, but it also slowed down the system, which wasn't built to handle mass mailings like that. That one email is considered the very first spam email. And though Thork might not have known it, he had just kicked off a trend that would only grow bigger with the internet boom of the 1990s. By the time email became mainstream, the word spam had already been cemented in online culture as shorthand for repetitive, unwanted junk. So when people needed a word for junk mail flooding their inboxes, spam was the obvious choice. Once the internet became widely accessible in the 1990s, spam emails multiplied like rabbits. Marketers, scammers, and shady businesses discovered they could reach millions of people with little effort. You'd get offers for fake vacations, cheap pills, get-rich-quick schemes, and all sorts of nonsense. By some estimates, spam made up more than 80% of all email traffic at its peak in the early 2000s. It became such a problem that email providers like Yahoo, Hotmail, and later Gmail had to build special filters just to keep it out of sight. And here's the kicker. Despite all the filters, anti-spam laws, and security measures, spam has never gone away. Even today, spam makes up nearly half of all global email traffic. That's billions of messages every single day. Over the years, the word spam has gone far beyond email. We don't just use it for inbox clutter anymore. It's become a universal way of describing anything repetitive, annoying, or overwhelming. From gamers complaining about someone spamming attacks, to TikTok users calling out comment floods, the word has slipped into every corner of online life. But what about spam the food? How does Hormel, the company behind the original canned meat, feel about its product being forever linked with unwanted digital junk? Surprisingly, they've handled it with humor. At first, they weren't exactly thrilled about the association, but over time, Hormel embraced the joke. They've even played along with the cultural crossover, creating tongue-in-cheek ads and leaning into the fact that spam, the meat, is just as unavoidable in pop culture as spam. The emails are in your inbox. It's a strange but fitting parallel. A brand that once earned a reputation for being everywhere found its name living on in a digital world, perfectly capturing that same sense of ubiquity. Instead of fighting the connection, Hormel recognized that spam had become more than just food. It had become part of our language and culture. So why is spam email called spam? Because of canned meat, comedy, and a quirky sense of humor among early internet users. What started as a food product turned into a punchline, then into internet slang, and finally into the universal word we all use for unwanted digital junk. The next time you roll your eyes at your spam folder, just remember, you're part of a tradition that goes back to World War II soldiers eating canned meat, British comedians chanting nonsense, and computer nerds cracking inside jokes. Spam may be annoying, but its name is one of the funniest and most unexpected stories in the history of the internet. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.